Hello and welcome to the REDi chat. My name is Dave Kieran. I am the Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships at Rangam Consultants. Thank you for joining this chat. This week, we're going to be talking with some wonderful professionals at the Bergen County Community College and their program called Turning Point. I'm truly grateful to have Tracy Rand, who's the program director. Joining her is Brittany Weiner, Workforce Development Coordinator. So first of all, thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Brittany, for joining us.
We're happy to be here with you today, Dave.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And I'm so excited to learn more about your program. But more interestingly, maybe than just that, is all the work that you're doing across the state of New Jersey to try and help kind of pull programs together and kind of raise the game of these programs serving students with intellectual disabilities. So to kick things off, just really broad level overview, can you tell us about the Turning Point program? How did it get started? How did you get funding? Tell us about it.
Oh, we'd be happy to, Dave. So the Turning Point program was developed out of a Department of Education post-secondary education grant that Bergen Community College received in 2010. And the purpose of this grant was to develop programming for young adults with intellectual disabilities. Bergen was fortunate to get funding in 2010, and out of that funding, we were able to launch our program in 2012 with 6 students. Our program is a 2-year non-degree seeking program, again, for young adults with intellectual disabilities who are looking to have an inclusive experience on a college campus, and more importantly for us, to provide some job-related skills that are going to help them become employed once they finish our program.
Excellent. So it sounds like one question I was going to ask is what sets apart Turning Point from some of the other programs out there? And you were just talking about the focus on workforce development, and that sounds like it's under Brittany's supervision. Brittany, can you tell us about that? What sets this program apart, and why the focus on that workforce development?
So the unique thing about Turning Point specifically is, as Tracy mentioned, is that we're a vocational program. So that means we're really focusing on getting our students ready to hit that job force and be qualified applicants like every other student would be. So our students really take a lot of vocational classes, and they take these, what we call them, career pathways. So they take industry certified credentials, and they either have the option to take the exam at the end or take all the coursework and learn all the material. A lot of our students are interested in stuff like office work, so they're learning skills that would be useful in an office type of setting. So Microsoft, Excel, learning all those spreadsheets, learning how to use a database. A lot of companies use specific type of database like electronic health records. All of our students learn, some of our students that go into like dietary aid or the hospitality world will learn like SourceAbled skills, and they'll take the exam, which we have a really high success rate of students completing that exam. So our focus is really helping students learn those job skills so that they can go out into the workforce and find integrated competitive employment.
And Dave, I think what's important to note here is these programs are inclusive, which means our students come, they participate in programming that's available to anyone that attends a community college. We want our students to have experiences that are not separate from other students that might be at the college. So the courses that Brittany was talking about are offered through our continuing education division, and they are open to anyone who is interested in registering for these courses. And what Turning Point does as part of that programming is we provide additional support for students so that they can study. They have accommodations for any of those industry-specific credentialing exams that might be at the end of that programming. Students are also able to register as part of our program to take any elective courses here at the college. One of the philosophical pieces of our program is lifelong learning. So we want our students that are entering to know that community colleges can provide different types of skills and options for students. They can come back, they can take courses based on interest. They can also hone those skills, those vocational skills. So they may take some coursework as part of our 2-year program and go out and become employed, and maybe come back at a future date to take additional coursework that's going to benefit them and hopefully move them further along in their career path.
You know, I agree completely. And this leads me maybe to a question that we weren't planning on talking about today, but just maybe taking a step back from Turning Point for a second. Could we talk about community colleges as a great resource and as a destination for all students, not just those with intellectual disabilities or developmental disabilities? I'm raising a 9-year-old, and I see cost of four-year colleges going crazy, like a graph like this. Community colleges traditionally have served non-traditional learners in more effective ways. People whose English is not their first language, people trying to begin a career after raising a family member or taking care of a sick family member. Could I ask you ladies to talk about maybe just like globally this idea of community colleges as a destination population?
Well, I think that some of the things that you just mentioned, community colleges are in everyone's backyard. So depending on where you live, most counties have a community college, and it is an affordable option for many individuals that are looking to, again, whether it is to take a course based on interest, they could be taking courses to benefit them at work, or starting a college career and maybe eventually transferring to a 4-year college or university. So I think that we're very flexible at community colleges, and you're right, we do have a lot of non-traditional students, and non-traditional could connect to somebody's age. It could connect to their background. Again, women re-entering the workforce after raising a family, or a man re-entering the workforce for a variety of reasons. Students with intellectual disabilities has always been a part, I believe, of community colleges. Again, through the Disability Services Office, we have a very unique perspective because of having access to information related to that individual's disability. And what we found here at Bergen many, many years ago was we were trying to create different programming options that were going to give individuals a better chance at being successful with what they were trying to do, so that their outcomes were going to be something that was going to truly benefit them. And that's how we developed Turning Point. We wanted to make sure that that support piece was going to meet the needs of a student. And based on ADA and 504, typically that would mean providing just accommodations. We're not modifying any of the coursework. Students had to be able to fully participate. They could use their accommodations, but we weren't able to provide a much higher level of support.
Right.
Turning Point allows us to do that. So it's a mix of credit courses, opportunities to take college level courses for credit or audit based on interest. It is non-credit courses that connect with the student's vocational plan and goal, along with that social experience. And again, we want whoever is attending a community college to be able to take advantage of all of the activities and events that are available on campus. And our students are no different than anyone else.
Can I follow up and ask about that? I know that one of the key ingredients of really successful campus programs seems to be peer support. And it's not, and also the ones that are not just focused on academic support. So you're talking, you're checking all these boxes for me. Could I ask you to tell us about those social opportunities and how peers are involved in the Turning Point program?
So we have peer mentors. A large responsibility of our peer mentors is helping students with their homework. But also the whole point of a peer model is that these students are learning how to interact with people not only in a similar age range, but also in a similar setting, similar life experience, and the same milestone event as them, which is going to college. So a large part of our mentoring sessions is teaching students how to interact with other peers, whether it's going to a club, going to a special event, going to any type of on-campus sporting event, anything like that. So our peers are great resources for our students. They're great models for our students. And one of the lovely things is we really push our students to attend clubs. I think there's like somewhere upwards of like 60, 70 clubs here at Bergen Community College.
Wow.
I think is really amazing. And so we really push our students to not just attend clubs, but like participate in these clubs in that sense that this club is having like an off-campus field trip. We encourage our students to go to that field trip, to just not just be interacting with them here on campus, but really going into that community and really experiencing that social situation there and learning how to navigate those skills.
And I think something else that's important to note is whether it is in, on a college campus or whether it is at a job site, that mentoring is a part of what we do. So as a supervisor, as a colleague, we always want to, help new employees by onboarding them and giving them connectors so that if they're unsure of what to do, they're new in a situation, that they have somebody that they have as a go-to. And I think the mentoring model that we use here and that other programs similar to Turning Point utilizes is showing young adults that those connectors are valuable. Yep. And again, as program staff, and again, if you want to connect it to, again, that employment model, whether it is a supervisor or department head, it's typically not the person that new employee is going to necessarily be going to. So by utilizing this model, we're showing our young adults that there's other ways to gather information. And again, our peers, we hire typically about 20 to 25 peer mentors.
Oh, cool.
And being a community college, everyone is different age. So we have some of our peer mentors that are not typically in a range that you would think of somebody coming to college. They might be in their 30s or 40s. We've had peer mentors older than that. But it's information and that life experience that we're utilizing. How do you learn how to navigate the campus? Who do you go to if you need tutoring? And by teaching somebody how to find these things, you're giving them a blueprint on what they're going to be able to do when they leave this campus.
Yep.
So it's beneficial for our students here, but these are lessons that they're going to take with them and hopefully apply and transfer that information once they enter employment.
I'm smiling because this mentor model echoes what we do at SourceAbled. So when we place someone at an employer, we're not just placing them with their manager who's been trained, but they also get a peer buddy and a peer mentor to talk about the long term, right? About your career advancement and career development, not just your job. So I love that you're starting this kind of mentorship and peer mentorship beginning in community college. Maybe we can get back to, you mentioned again the experiential learning component, workforce development. I'd love to get back to this to kind of connect to how do we make that transition to jobs. Could you talk about the experiential learning that's part of the program, and why is that so important?
Well, I think it's important for anyone, but specifically for somebody with an intellectual or developmental disability. There may be a longer learning curve there for somebody to understand what those tasks are. And what we do is we provide on-campus experiences where students will work in offices and different departments on campus. They have, again, that supervisor that is responsible for connecting with them. We have job coaches that go in and to provide some support and assistance during the onboarding process and for any new tasks that are being assigned to make sure that that young adult understands what their job role is there and how to complete those responsibilities successfully. And again, in Brittany's role, she's working with different types of opportunities in the community, as well as trying to connect those pieces when students are on campus. We start students looking at what their vocational goal is as they enter the program. So we do that through a person-centered planning model. And we want students to obviously take advantage of everything on campus. We want them to have that inclusive experience. But I think for anybody that is coming to, whether it's a community college or a four-year college or university, I think the goal after you complete all of that coursework is employment. So we're really looking at how do we prepare these young adults through all of these experiences to make them prepared to enter the workforce. We want them to have skills that are going to be seen as valuable for those potential employers. And in Brittany's role, she's trying to connect with other employers within our area to broaden some of those opportunities for our young adults.
Yep.
You know,
is one ask, sorry, Tracy, would one ask be, a call for any businesses that might be watching this from the Bergen County, New Jersey area? Brittany wants to meet and we want as diverse a set of business. I think from my perspective, one of the challenges we've had is like there's a narrow set of companies that are kind of into this and they're recruiting from this population, but we need the full diverse set of opportunities that reflects the diversity of this population. So Brittany, do you want to talk a little bit about your efforts there to try to build that kind of coalition? And I know you have even bigger efforts to try to pull others from across the state of New Jersey. Can you talk to us about what you're doing?
Great. Yeah. So one of the big things about, like I said, is really creating that integrated employment for our students.
Mm-hmm.
So that means not just working jobs that we think students with intellectual disabilities can do, but jobs they want to do. Yeah. So it goes across many different disciplines of jobs, across many different types of fields. So I've been working on trying to pull in other types of perspectives and try to pull in other types of opportunities for our students so that they can really expand into a whole different sector of world. There are, certain categories of jobs that people think of when they think of students with intellectual disabilities,
right.
But there's a lot of potential in our students, and that's why they come to programs like ours so that we can really reach them to that potential so that employers can see what we see. Yeah. And there's a lot of supports that can be given to employers. So if they're new to this world, they can go to a company like Rangam and SourceAbled and kind of get that back end support piece. The goal of integrating students into the workforce isn't just to throw them out there into the world. Right. It's to set them up with skills to be foundationally strong workers, and also have programs know of supports in their areas so that employers can have similar types of supports. They can have similar trainings. They can have their version of a job coach where they're going in and kind of giving them the moral support or helping them with workforce development skills, just like we help our students. So my goal is to expand what we have in Bergen County, mm-hmm. and go to every inch and cranny of New Jersey and every employer that gives me a stare. I'm going to make friends with you. You're going to have a student of mine or a student from another IPSI program, which is programs like ours and a couple other in the state. It's an untapped workforce. And these students have so much passion and drive and motivation to not just do the tasks that you're giving them, but to do everything they see that's being done around them. And a lot of our students it's just given the opportunity to do so, they will do it maybe in a different way than you're thinking of them doing it, mm-hmm. but they're still going to get it done. They might need to break it down an extra step, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to reach step 12 that you have set out for them.
I think Dave, it's important to note that education is important for employers as well as it is important and valuable for our students that may be looking for a position. Mm-hmm. And what we found over the years is by meeting with employers and looking at the potential jobs that they may have and what is it that they're looking to fill, if we look at each of those job functions, we can actually provide some tailored training through coursework here that would provide those young adults with those skills prior to them being considered for a position. And that's why that collaboration that Brittany is talking about is so important. And mm-hmm. that employers don't always think of somebody with an intellectual or developmental disability as a potentially qualified candidate.
Right.
That's where the education comes in. So being able to connect with employers and to talk about what their needs are and what potentially, whether it's our program here at Bergen Community College, or again, we're part of a collaborative here. We work with the College of New Jersey's Career and Community Studies program, as mm-hmm. well as Georgian Court's Pathways to Possibilities program. So we want to make sure that we're spreading the word, because it's not just what's going on in Bergen County. There are programs similar to ours, and again, that's inclusive post-secondary education programs that happen either at a community college or a four-year college or university. So there's options all across the state, and being able to make these connections is going to not only assist our graduates, but it's going to assist employers in identifying qualified candidates for positions.
Okay, great. Good. In just a moment to give us like a day, a day in the life of a student at Turning Point. But maybe first, I was kind of thinking of a bigger question, Tracy, for you, is what does it mean to be a TIPSID grant awardee? Like, why is this important that it's happening at Bergen County? And why aren't there more of them? Like, I get frustrated when I see this is an amazing program. I want to see hundreds of them across the country, and I only see like a couple of dozen. Do you have an answer for why that is?
Well, that's a good question. There's two pieces to that. So when you talk about a TIPSID, so that's a transition program for students with intellectual disabilities. That's the name of a grant through the Department of Post-Secondary Education. And there have been 3 grant cycles that have been connected with that project. And in each of those cycles, potentially 23 to 25 programs were identified and provided grant funding. So Bergen Community College was provided funding in all 3 of those grant opportunities. We've been very, very fortunate.
Wow.
Beyond that, there are roughly 300 programs across the country that also provide an inclusive post-secondary experience. They may not be funded through the Department of Post-Secondary Education dollars, but through their institutions, they were able to identify other funding sources and create programs that are similar to Turning Point. I think one of the interesting things is Brittany and I just came back from a conference for TIPSID over the summer, and every program has a different focus. We all want our students to develop new types of skills, many of them workforce development skills that are going to give them an opportunity and a better ability to become employed, but everybody does it differently. And I think that's wonderful within our, I think we have 12 or 13 programs.
Yeah.
And again, they vary between 2 and 4 year institutions. We connect through our 3rd TIPSID grant, which is actually overseen by Georgian Court University. Brittany works with something that's called New Jersey IHAC, which is the New Jersey Inclusive Education Collaborative. And the goal of that is to bring all of these programs within the state that are not TIPSID funded programs to provide resources, and also as a collective to begin to work with employers, potentially the state of New Jersey, to talk about funding options for young adults. Again, college should be an option for anyone. And somebody should not be denied an education because they have a disability. So we're providing programming in a way that's going to support a young adult with an intellectual or developmental disability. And at Bergen, our outcome is employment. It's very important for us that our students leave with skills that are going to help them get that first job, because having that job leads to other things. So it provides access to their community. It increases their ability to connect with others within that community, and it gives them an opportunity for a full life. So we look at this program as a start, but we're always available for our students, for our graduates, and in fact just launched our alumni network this summer, so that students who have finished the program have an opportunity to come back. Again, getting back to the community college model, our Career Center supports students while they're here and helping them to identify some of those career opportunities if they're looking to just take some courses and enter the workforce, or whether they're going to complete an associate's degree and then enter the workforce. Our students can also work with career services here in trying to identify what would be a good next step. If they leave and become employed and maybe lose that job, or are looking for another job, they want to better themselves, and maybe that company doesn't have any options, they can come back and work with our Career Center to identify potential new opportunities for them. So we're very fortunate here at, I think, at our community college, but there are other programs within the state of New Jersey that have maybe a different focus, but we all support our young adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities in a way that we feel is going to help them move forward with their lives.
Thanks for that explanation, Tracy. And a good resource for some of those non-TIPSID programs that do support students with intellectual disabilities that I'm aware of anyway is Think College is a good resource around the country. So if you're not in Bergen County, if you're not in New Jersey and you're wondering what programs might be around me, check out Think College and you'll find a nice list. So Brittany, we're running near-ish short on time. So if I could ask you to try to do this, if you can, in a concise way. A day in the life of a Turning Point student. And I know this probably is very different depending on the student and what their interests are and their schedule and stuff. But could you tell us what's it like to be a student and kind of give that overview of what's it like to be part of this program?
So for our students, they have a typical 9-ish start time to about 4 o'clock. They take some Turning Point classes. So those classes are really etched into vocational based type of skills and foundation. They take college electives. They also have mentoring one-on-one. They have their internship on campus. That's our first year students. Our second year students, that's really when we hit the vocational track really heavy. They will take some lighter Turning Point classes. They will still take college electives. And then their third semester, so in their second year, they'll start those career pathways. So those are classes to really focus in on that industry credential. So learning the material. So let's say you're doing ServSafe. How do you handle food properly? What is the right time to wash your hands? It's all the time, all that kind of stuff. And then that last semester is when they're doing all their external internship. So that's when they're in the community. They're kind of heavy in their first semester and it gets lighter on as they go on. And that's intentional. It's intentional for us to have the most amount of support in their first semester because this is a transitional time and it's, we want to get our students feeling comfortable and confident in being here. And then as they go on, there's less of us and more of them. They're learning to be more independent. They're learning how to handle free time. Our schedule is not jam-packed. It's not jam-packed for a reason. We want to give our students the opportunity to learn how to manage their own time. If you have an hour break, how are you going to manage that? We want our students to learn those small independent skills so that when they're off in the work site, they know how to break down their task lists. They know what are priorities, what to do when. If they have some free time, maybe they can go ask their boss for more work. We're heavy in the beginning and then we kind of lean off further down the line.
Dave, to kind of frame it, anyone who has gone to college, our program models a 12 credit load. Okay. So it is busy enough so that students are going to be on campus. And again, everybody's schedule is different. It's unique to that student. Choice is important. So the electives are going to be based on what students are interested in taking. There are some elective courses that we require. We have students take a communications course because we feel that that's important for students to learn how to speak in a public setting and how to communicate well with others because that's a skill they're going to need at work. Sure. We have students take a precursor to writing 101 so that reading comprehension and basic writing skills are included in our program. So it's a full day for students, and the courses that Brittany is talking about are going to model a lot of that support around those college level courses and prepare them for what's to come in the second year, which is really when we look at that being the major, that vocational outcome. So whatever students have identified, whether that's maybe going into something that has to do with the hospitality field, or maybe it's something working with senior citizens that's more around gerontology. We've had students that have focused in on working with young learners and have looked at taking the early childhood credential so that they're considered prepared to go to work in that field. So we look at the first year as that foundational year, learning how to navigate the campus, all of the supports, taking those courses that are going to help prepare them for their second year. And again, we're doing those on-campus and off-campus internships so that students can practice all of those skills that they're learning so that by the time they finish that fourth semester, they're prepared to apply for those jobs, go through those interviews, and hopefully become employed shortly after they leave our program.
Yeah, I love it because they've had done it before. It's not going to be new. They've had that experience. It sounds terrific. I am going to kind of wrap us near the end here, so I'm going to ask you both to start thinking about success stories or kind of a key takeaway you want the audience to take with you. But I do have one question that you've both been talking about, all these credentials, and you can earn these professional credentials or an associate's degree. I was just wondering if you might comment on this, credentials versus do I have to get a 4-year degree, right? Are there trends that you're seeing? Are employers relaxing some of their requirements for like a 4-year degree? Are they interested and attracted to people coming with professional certificates or credentials like this? Could you comment on that?
Well, from what I've been reading, and again, working in higher ed for, 20 plus years, I think, the idea was always somebody would come in and they would finish that degree because it documents a level of education that employers should see as valuable. But I think over the last few years, depending on what the field is, I think employers are just looking for individuals who can do that job and do it well. So I think it depends on the field. In our experience, we've had a lot of success in students taking some of those industry-specific credentials and being able to transfer that into employment because it's something that is relatable to that employer. They see it as wrapping up those skills and something that the student understands and has and a coursework that has been successfully completed by that young adult. And I think that allows them to not necessarily focus on that disability piece. It's somebody that can do the job and has the skills. And if there is some additional training that needs to be done in order to support that young adult with a disability, that's something that can be done through the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation or other agencies that are supporting that young adult. So for our purposes, we're looking at the credentials as a way to kind of level the playing field.
Yeah.
I'm going to show my age a little bit here. Back when I was younger and applying for jobs, there weren't search engines. You weren't sending in your resume and having them go through a process where several thousand resumes are being looked at for those keywords to see if they match. It was a human being that was reading all of those resumes and deciding who they wanted to call in for a potential interview. So I think we're trying to be a little bit more savvy too in making sure that our students have the skills for the jobs that they're applying for, and that hopefully by having some of those credentials that it's showing these potential employers that they are qualified and they should be able to be invited in for an interview. And again, this is not anything new. I think that anyone who is going into the workforce, you're trying to figure out the best way to make sure that that resume is picked up and that you have an opportunity to at least interview with the position. But I don't think looking at somebody with a disability should be seen as anything different. If that candidate is qualified, they should be offered an opportunity to interview. And if they are the best qualified candidate, they should be hired.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. Well, I know that we've had a long time to talk, and we probably haven't had enough time to talk about all the wonderful things that you guys do at Turning Point. So with this last question, please, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you want others to know about Bergen County Community College or Turning Point? And do you have any success stories you want to share? Anything that kind of illustrates the impact that you can have on a life and a family?
Ooh, what a good question.
Well, we've had about 100. I think it's about 145 students that have successfully completed our program since it started. But a success story that comes to mind for me was a young man who graduated probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And when the young man applied to our program, his mom said getting a job wasn't his problem. It was being able to advance, and that people saw him in those employment situations that he had previously been in as somebody that was qualified for only certain things. And they weren't willing to give him an opportunity to advance. They saw him in a very one-dimensional way. And she felt that was very limiting for him. So in this particular case, the young man could get a job, but he was never offered any opportunities to advance. So, he completed our program and had an interest in working in some type of a field that was very, very regimented. He also enjoyed being a part of a process. And that was something that when we were doing his goal setting, that became very important to him. He didn't want to be just an individual contributor. He wanted to be part of a team.
Yep.
And we were fortunate to be able to connect with an employer within the state of New Jersey who saw that potential. And this young man went on to be offered full-time. He is working for a company that provides sterile processing for
surgery.
Yeah, for I'm sorry, I'm blanking on what it is. It's for surgical centers. So they actually sterilize all of the equipment, and they pack it, and it's sent out to surgical centers and to hospitals. And he's been there now for about 5.5 years. He's full time.
Wow.
He's a part of the team, and this is something that was not possible in other in other employment options that he had previously. And I think having specific skills really highlighted to this new employer that he was qualified, and it made a big difference. And I think having employers understand that your workforce is going to look different, and that if somebody has skills, that you should give them that opportunity. And sometimes when it's an individual with a disability, they don't always see that person as qualified as maybe some of the other applicants. And through programs such as ours, we're trying to show that that may not always be the case, and that you should look at that individual based on how they're presenting and what skills they have, and give them the opportunity to become employed.
Beautiful success story. And it's amazing. I've seen stories like that, what it means not just to that young man, but to how it impacts his entire family, and even beyond that, his kind of circle of support. The time people were missing from their own jobs, the time people were spent kind of trying to navigate these systems. It impacts a lot of people, and it really does make a huge change. Brittany, was there anything any kind of takeaway or final thought you wanted to give about the program? Anything you wanted to let people know about what you're doing at Turning Point?
Yeah, so I think Tracy kind of touched on this a little bit, is programs like these aren't just to give students with disabilities the option to just exist. It's really to break ground and push a workforce, an untapped workforce, into the workforce. It's really to bulk up these companies into being these stellar places with this diverse clientele of all these skills that we don't realize are out there. The incredible thing about Turning Point and programs like ours is that we have this flexibility to make our students the star of your company.
Yeah.
We have the ability to go in and help them strengthen their skills that they currently have, and also develop skills that make them as attractive as possible to companies. They have these strong mentality of, they have the ability to be the best, and companies, once you see that they have the ability to be the best, they tend to be the best. They are employees that want to be there. They're employees that are enthusiastic. They're employees that get tasks done in really unique and interesting ways that help you open your mind to unique and interesting ways. And I think, as Tracy mentioned, college is all about life learning, but so is the workforce. It's learning new skills. It's learning about yourself. It's learning to be independent. And students with disabilities not only can do all those things, but they can do all those things in the same way, in different ways, and all in incredible ways. So, and programs like ours help break those barriers and help students enter the workforce in a way that is impactful and meaningful and beneficial to everyone.
Yeah.
I think the takeaway from this, Dave, is we've created the structure. Now we need more employers to join us and partner with us and collaborate. Again, community colleges are unique because of that workforce development arm in each of these colleges. We have the ability to create coursework. So being able to partner with employers to identify what are those skills, what are the abilities that they're looking for, and maybe to identify programming that can be available on that campus, not only for students with intellectual or developmental disabilities, but for any other community members. So this could be a win-win. It's a win-win for the employer, and it's a win-win for our young adults. And we're really hoping that we can spread the word and be able to identify new partnerships with other companies within our region.
Well, thank you so much for spreading the word with us. I'm going to echo your call to action. Any business in New Jersey should be reaching out to Tracy and Brittany to talk about Turning Point and all of their partners across the state. And if you're not in New Jersey, that's okay. Reach out to your local community college. Ask about what programs they have. Ask about how your company can get involved and help with training and ultimately hiring these good young workers. So thanks again, everyone, for joining this REDi Chat. It's been a pleasure to have from Bergen County Community College and their Turning Point program, Tracy Rand, the director, and Brittany Weiner, Workforce Development Coordinator. Thanks again to both of you for your time today.
Thank you for having us, Dave.
Yes, thank you again.
It's been my pleasure.